and also to help Italian American companies and member companies to succeed in the American market. 2020 has proven to be an extraordinary hard year worldwide, which is why we at the Chamber are taking proactive steps to provide support facing these difficulties. Working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Assocamerestero, and other Italian institutions, we are launching an ambitious program that will help Italian companies establish e-commerce business opportunities in a fast and effective way. Our new webinar series will help Italian companies understand the dynamics of entry and development of authentic and certified Italian products in the United States, a topic of special importance given the radical market changes resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. And in this slide, I want to introduce you to Domenico Mauriello, Director of Internationalization of Unioncamere, who will tell you more about our new Italian taste project. Domenico Mauriello is the Director of Internationalization of Foreign Affairs Department in Unioncamere. After more than 20 years of experience in planning and executing research projects in the field of SMEs and economic policies, he's now coordinating the whole network of Italian chambers of commerce, supporting them to define and provide information, assistance, consulting, promotion, and training services to Italian small and medium-sized businesses. So now I would like to pass the word to Mr. Mauriello. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning from Italy. I think to be the only speaker today from Italy. And thank you, Silvia, for introducing me. My name is Domenico Mauriello, as you told me, as you told everybody. And I do thank you and all the organizers in the Italian American Chamber of Commerce of Chicago for inviting me to this very interesting meeting and webinar for all Italian and American SMEs of food sector, together with Mr. Jean-Pierre Comte, and I'm really glad to meet him today. Good evening to my colleagues from Italy, from Italian Chambers of Commerce, and from the Italian SMEs who are here today with us. It's a great honor to be with you here today and to meet you, even if only virtually due to the pandemic. And I understand you are some of the top companies in the food sector, both in Midwest and in Italy. And to get a chance to talk to you today is really a big opportunity to describe some of the activities of Italian Chambers of Commerce in Italy and abroad, and also to illustrate the services we can offer for the growth of your company and for strengthening the relations between Italian and American SMEs in food sector. Let's start just giving you an overview of what Italian chambers are. Italian Chambers of Commerce system, which is totally public in Italy, has been recently reformed by our government. Firstly, the number of chambers have changed as a consequence of mergers between two or even more than two chambers of commerce. But apart from these organizational aspects that will lead us to be 60, hopefully by the end of this year, chambers have been reorganized in the way they offer services to enterprises, becoming more customer-oriented and linked to the needs of SMEs in each territory, and developing strategic alliances with all the other public institutions supporting internationalization, as you can read here on the left of the screen, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to each ICE agency, and to, of course, Italian chambers of commerce abroad. The reform has totally changed, completely changed the scope of chambers of commerce in the field of internationalization. We have been entrusted with companies' preparation for international markets through information, training, organizational support, assistance, in order to sustain the growth of exporting companies in terms of numbers of new exporting companies and their turnover as well. And with an ambitious goal, as you can see on the right, that is to identify and assist 10,000 potential export companies in a 3-year period, which have been already individually detected in each sector and in each region of the country. Our services are offered directly by chambers of commerce. All services are for free for Italian enterprises, and they can be for free in some aspects also for Italian enterprises located abroad. They can be, as I was saying, directly supplied by Italian chambers or through each agency or through the Italian chambers of commerce abroad, just like the Italian Chamber of Commerce of Chicago. A useful tool confirming this strategy is represented by the establishment of a national agency, Promos Italia. You can read there that on the bottom of the slide. This agency is named Promos Italia, which was created last year through a merging process between the first group of special agencies of chambers of commerce all over Italy. These are the services, the fields of activities in the field of internationalization of chambers of commerce. I won't go reading and explaining all of these services. Most of them are self-explaining, from the assessment and all the tools that we have developed to assess the export readiness of our enterprises, training, outbound services for finding and selecting local partners, or B2B meetings, incoming buyers, business missions abroad, and so on. Technical assistance on legal and contractual aspects, custom formalities, tax matters, and so forth. Organizational support, providing temporary expert managers to SMEs to enhance an organizational change in the enterprise. Support to digitization and to possibility for our enterprises to export through digital platform. And last but not least, a specific contingency desk that we have created after the pandemic outbreak. And in this way, we are able to inform all our SMEs about new rules and laws and certifications, as well as new market opportunities that can be created in this period due to the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. And with the help of Italian chambers of commerce abroad, we also offer a personalized support in positioning or repositioning for the enterprises on their markets or find new markets. Italian enterprises can get in touch with the local chamber of commerce, Italian chamber of commerce, to be informed and supported for as far as all this set of services is concerned. But Italian enterprises in Midwest can ask Italian American Chamber of Commerce for help, and they will get in touch with the Italian chamber of commerce that could give information or counseling to American or Italian American enterprises. I will skip this one that goes more in detail about the services offered through the contingency desk, from information and orientation to foreign markets to assistance and training, with webinar like this one, which is offered also to Italian SMEs, web mentoring and counseling that will be developed in the next month till the end of the year, and assistance and consultancy on all the formalities, documents for export. But before finishing, I'd like to give an overview on another specific project of Italian Chambers of Commerce abroad, which is the True Italian Taste project, which is promoted and financed by the Italian Ministry for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and implemented by the Association of Italian Chambers of Commerce abroad. The True Italian Taste project is part of the Extraordinary Italian Taste program and is aimed to enhance and safeguard authentic Italian agri-food products, trying to increase the conscious consumption of true made in Italy agri-food products, 100% made in Italy agri-food products, through a greater knowledge of some specific characteristics of our food products, about the advantages of consumption of the authentic Italian products, also how they can use as ingredients in recipes, or informing about the healthy properties of authentic Italian food. But we also assist Italian SMEs who are in need of a specific support, especially if they are innovative companies, to position themselves in the right way, or to considerate or reconsiderate their presence in the specific target markets. The strategy behind the project is based on influencer marketing. It means that the activities are aimed at a target of influencer. And this is important because through the influencer, we introduce trust in business processes as the main focus of the activities and the marketing activities. And the specific actions that we are developing include educational tours, incoming of buyers, workshops, training actions, masterclasses, promotional events, all to support 100% Italian product abroad. The project involves 36 Italian chambers of commerce abroad. You can read the list below, in 23 countries: America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. The Chamber of Commerce of Chicago is included, as you can see on the right side of this slide. In 2019 and 2020, we have planned or already carried out these activities: 59 masterclasses, 32 authentic Italian table events organized by 23 Italian chambers abroad, and 51 promotional events. And you can find the number of actions, of activities in America on the bottom left of the screen: 25 masterclasses, 16 authentic Italian table events, and 13 other promotional events. And this project is important, I think, especially in this moment when Italian brand runs the risk of being weaker than the past during the pandemic. And we have great challenges, but we also have great opportunities in food sector all over the world, I think. But in the relation between people and food, not only the way they prepare food, but also where and what they buy will be different from the past. And I'm glad to give the floor to Mr. Comte so as to know directly from him how Italian food companies can answer these changes in consumer needs. Thank you, and I'm still here if somebody is interested in knowing more about our services in Italy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mauriello, for those important remarks. And now, with great honor, I would like to introduce the president of Barilla Americas, the world-leading pasta brand, Jean-Pierre Comte. So please allow me to quickly introduce you to our president. Jean-Pierre Comte, president of Barilla Americas, is based in Chicago. In his current role, Jean-Pierre is responsible for the North and South America operations of one of the world's largest Italian food companies. Jean-Pierre has almost 30 years global experience in the fast-moving consumer goods industry that began at Procter & Gamble, where he held positions in sales, trade marketing, shopper marketing, and general management. Through his increasing responsibilities at Procter & Gamble, he was relocated from his native France to Italy and Switzerland. Jean-Pierre joined Barilla in March 2010, where he was vice president in charge of Western Europe before relocating to Chicago in September 2013. Since moving to the United States, he continuously demonstrated his passion about the consumers, customers, and employees he has the opportunity to serve every day. Jean-Pierre has been unwavering in his leadership and engagement in promoting diversity and inclusion. He is an ambassador for activities within Barilla, both locally and worldwide, as well as several nonprofit arenas. He also serves in the board of the Italian American Chamber of Commerce Midwest. Jean-Pierre is an MBA graduate of Neoma Business School in France. So now I would like to start our conversation with the president, and with starting, I think starting with our first question to him. So could you tell us about the current situation in the US regarding the COVID-19?
Yes, sure, Silvia. So hello, everyone. So good morning here in the US. Good afternoon in Europe. Thank you, Domenico, for your words. Thank you, Silvia. Grazie mille. So I understand that we'll go in English, which is very good. So here in the US, the situation is definitely much better than it was a couple of weeks ago, even if we still have about 20 states which are still on the rising curve, unfortunately. Here in Illinois, which is the state hosting the city of Chicago, we are now gradually exiting the lockdown, even if the lockdown was probably less severe than it has been in countries as Italy or France or Germany. And so, as you can see, I speak from our office in Chicago, even if usually we have between 150, 160 people. We will be probably 10 or 12 or 15 today, as the default option is to continue to work at home.
Yeah, because remember you said weeks ago you were doing smart working from home as well. Yeah, so exactly, as you mentioned before, we decided to do the webinar in English because we thought we have a panel of US people in the United States that are following us right now, and also from Italy. So just to give a little, I forgot a little explanation about the the choice of language. Anyway, going back with you, President, I would like to keep with the question, and I would like if you can tell us how Barilla is managing this crisis. Now about the crisis of COVID-19 in the US, specifically in the US.
Yes, sure. So we have been quite fortunate in this storm, as our home is based in Parma, Italy. Here in the US, in Canada, in Brazil, in Mexico, we had a pretty high awareness of this COVID-19 issue, and we knew from our colleagues in Italy that what was coming our way was really bad, and so that's why. As of it was February the 26th, we made the decision to establish the crisis management team here in Chicago, as well as Toronto, where we have an office in Toronto, Mexico City, and São Paulo. And we made the decision to anticipate most of the measures that the local authorities were asking us to take. And so since the beginning, we had the masks, we had the temperature scanners, we observed the social distancing and all of that. And we established, as of the Feb 26th, 3 key priorities. The first one was about protecting our employees and our consumers, so make sure that our operations were safe. The second one was to put our supply chain in a bubble. We have here in the US 2 plants. One is based in Iowa, the other one is based in upstate New York. We have a plant also in Mexico, based in San Luis Potosi, and so it was critical for us to maintain the supply chain in activity during this time. And the third priority was to make sure that we were close from the communities we support. And so especially the food service community, which has been impacted as of mid-March, as they had to close doors. So make sure that we can give back to these communities and be with them as of the beginning. Then obviously we closed the offices. Here we closed it on March the 16th. And so the 160 employees started to work from home, which was not a big deal, because as of early March, we had checked that all the laptops and all the bandwidth at homes of our employees were large enough to sustain the access to the systems. In the plants, we made the decision to cut our assortment by about 50% to make sure that we remove the complexity of producing several shapes of pasta. And so we basically produced a lot of spaghetti and penne, as the priority was to supply the demand. And so the 3 plants that we have in the region were in full capacity 24/7 as of the end of Feb. And I'm super glad to report that we had one case, only one case. We had to quarantine about 50 employees. But the case recovered, and the employees that we had to put in quarantine are now back to the office. You probably don't know it, but we have also 2 restaurants in the US, Casa Barilla. One is based in New York, the other on Manhattan, and the other one is based in Orange County, so south of Los Angeles. As of mid-March, unfortunately, we had to close these 2 restaurants, but the 60 employees that we had in these 2 restaurants have been fully paid between now and the day we will be authorized to reopen these restaurants. And this is something that I'm very proud of, because that's the value of working for, I would say, family-owned company where every employee is part of the family.
That's very important. Plus, I mean, you acted very, as I can understand, you acted very fast in your taking decisions, a little bit because of the Italian experience that obviously maybe was everything came up earlier in Italy than in the US. So you were able to prepare yourself, but you also did not you also protected your employees, which I also find very yeah, that's a very big value for a company. And since Barilla is an Italian family company, it's great to hear and have this example for a lot of companies in the United States, I would say. Okay, then let's move to the next question. So the health crisis will hopefully be behind us, but the economic and social crisis are ahead of us. What have you learned so far?
So we learned, we continue to learn because it's going to be a continuous learning curve. But we emotionally, I think that all human beings who have been impacted by this crisis, we now are able to see some phases. Okay, we have the first phase, which was the anticipation, which we started early Feb, mid Feb, when Italy started to be hit, and so we knew that something was coming our way, but life was continuing between mid Feb and mid March, when President Trump made the decision to close the frontiers with Europe. I would say that people were in some fear, but there was no real change in their daily life. Okay, we started to see the panic buying, so people rushing in the grocery stores as of the second week of March. So there we started to see buying the same thing that people were buying in Europe. So the masks and the hand sanitizer and then pasta and rice and beans and all of that. So that's the first period. Then we had the period of the impact, okay, which came with the mid-March, and where there we saw a different phase and a different consumer behavior, where people were not going as often to the store because they were rightly so afraid of what they were doing. So the shopping trips were more distant, and then they started there to really focus on essentials. Okay, so they don't buy anymore any impulse categories. They really focus on what they need. And so this period here in the US was basically from mid-March to mid-April. As of early April, mid-April, we started to see the phase 3, which is I would say the survival mode. So people are confused and angered, and they try to adapt their new habits at home and in the way of working, and some of the trends that we will probably comment later started there. Some of them will probably die with the next phase, but some of them for sure will probably stay. Okay, and now as we reopen the business, even if it's very gradual, we enter in this recovery phase, okay, which will have different phases as well, and then new normals will probably emerge. So the first learning is that we didn't leave the crisis at the same intensity along these phases, and the consumer behavior has changed also in this very limited amount of time. The second one is that the consumer rushed after brands, big brands, especially in the first phase, because I think that Domenico mentioned the word trust was something very important. And while big brands in the US, the Kraft, Heinz, Campbell's, PepsiCo were under pressure in the recent past, suddenly, boom, people went back to these brands because these brands were associated with trust and something which was solid and robust, especially coming from the past. Now, as we enter in the phase which put a lot of pressure on the finances of many households in the US, we start seeing also a rise of the private labels, so the store brands, which are obviously chosen as they provide good value for money. So this is the second learning. in terms of brand choices. The third learning,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw it as we have operations, so we have plants producing pasta in the US. We have been probably faster and better at coping with the initial phase of the crisis. The global chains, and we have some plants in Europe producing for countries in Middle East, even in Asia. It has been much more difficult because the further you produce from your consumer, especially with the disruptions that we had in terms of freight between continents, the most difficult it is. So the fact of producing here locally has been definitely an advantage for us.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, don't know about that. Part of Barilla, the fact that Barilla has a strong US history at this point, because when did Barilla start in the US?
25 years ago, yeah.
25. So it was a company that were very successful and able to integrate their Italian values, but to adapt those values in an American context and context. And that's maybe one of the key of success of the company, and why it keeps being so successful in the United States as well.
Yeah,
that's my personal
it's
opinion.
It's a good analysis, Silvia. It's a good analysis.
Good. So so let's talk about the trends. Yeah, as you mentioned before, maybe if we can go a little deeper, looking to the near future, which of these trends will last and which ones will die, and others, which ones will emerge?
So the most obvious one is the back home. So the back to cook at home. And so as we start now, because we now are doing some research with consumers to understand what happened in their ways of living, how do they see their home, how do they see the kitchen. We saw that in this storm, the kitchen became the kind of safe sanctuary, while the external world was full of threats. So I guess that something of that will stay, because the home became not only the place where I pray and where I live with my partner, with my kids. It became also the place where I had to work, and so I need to reorganize all of that. And food and the kitchen played a central role in bringing mental wellness and stability during I would say, the chaos. Okay.
Yeah.
The second one, cooking. Okay. Until last year, when American families were spending $100 in food, more than half of last year, until last year, when American families were spending $100 in food, half of these $100 were spent out of home. Okay, in restaurants, in canteens, in all of that. Obviously, with the lockdown, 100% of the dollars suddenly moved from half of out of home to fully at home. And cooking, and we saw it, I guess that it was also the case in Italy. We have never seen as many shots, pictures of pasta meals on Instagram, on Pinterest, than during this time. Okay, because people, as they didn't have the opportunity to go outside and to live experiences, traveling, go to the restaurants, etc., and to share their self and their creativity, they used the cooking and the kitchen as a way to express their human being creativity. So cooking at home as a dimension which is not only functional, which is that I need food and carbs and calories to live, it has also a role which is much more emotional. And what we start discovering as well now, when we run some research, is that people reconnected between themselves during this moment, and the kitchen was also the place while the father or the mother or the kids were cooking together, was a place to reconnect emotionally the different members of the families. So that's this home cooking, home eating, and probably at a certain point of time, people will be fed up to cook, but they will make their food come home. And this is another trend that we saw, the rise of pickup, as many of the restaurants they had to adjust, and so they started to put in place some curbside pickup or food delivery using the Grubhub, the Uber Eats, all the providers that you can find online, and this trend is also there to stay. In terms of shopping in store or online, we saw definitely a focus on essentials. And so when you look at shoppers, they are now going through the grocery stores aisles, going fast. They just take what they need. It's not something that they were doing in the past. Okay, I'm going to check out, and I'm going to spend half an hour or an hour in the store, and I will browse the aisles and see if I can find something new, etc. No, they really have the shopping list, and they are extremely clear of what she or he is looking for. And then I did not mention the rise of e-commerce, as some people, especially, and we see a share of seniors, so the elderly people who, and rightly so as well, were afraid to go out and to do their grocery shopping. They started to use internet, Amazon and other e-commerce platforms to buy their food and get it delivered at home. So I think that these trends will stay. So the at-home cooking, focus on the essentials, probably less trips in the grocery stores, more focused shopping lists, as well as the rise of e-commerce.
Yeah, and we hope that on the shopping list, the focus shopping list, there is always written Barilla pasta on it.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. We hope so.
Yeah, thank you. This give me at least a very clear idea, and I can see it's very interesting to hear from you how the American habits that are very different to how we and I, especially as an Italian, grew up in Italy. We have like such a different also relationship in the kitchen, as you just mentioned. So it's very interesting how those trends have been changing during those past months. All right, so going further, we talked a lot about products, innovation, and eating habits. Would you have any insights on communication and ways to genuinely connect with the consumer?
Yes, definitely. I don't know if some of you know, but we just before the crisis, we were leveraging a campaign with Roger Federer, and so we had a nice advertising, which was a nice party in a fancy place in the north of Italy, and also with a lot of people in between the kitchen and the ballroom, and so as you can imagine, this is the kind of content which in a moment that we had to go through all together was not relevant anymore. Okay, and so we had to pause on this kind of content to adjust our communication to what our consumers were going through. Okay, and so the marketing teams worked very hard to bring new content, which was much more on helping the people to eat the pasta that they had bought. Again, for an Italian or a French, it's pretty obvious and easy to cook pasta. Don't give it for granted. Here in North America, again, it's not good, it's not bad. It's a different reality. but many people don't know how to cook pasta. Okay, and so that's why we've put a lot of webinars and live Instagram, etc., etc. So having a content which is much more top down. Okay, yeah. I'm going to tell you, Barilla, why I'm good and why Roger Federer will help you, but much more we are side by side, and all together we'll find a way for you to put a delicious and affordable pasta meal at the center of the table to feed your family. So the content was extremely important to readjust. The media that we use also were important. People obviously it was probably the case also in Europe. We saw a rise in social and consumption, and so this is where we started to push also our dollars, so to make sure that we were able to intercept the consumer while she or he was on Facebook or Instagram or elsewhere, which was important as well. We get closer also to some communities, and there is a trend which started in the US. It was there already in Europe, which is this: local is good, local is small, local is beautiful. And so we had already some partnerships with some urban farmers in Chicago, in Minneapolis, in Denver. We accelerated these partnerships, and as part of the baskets of fruits and vegetables and all of that, we've put some coupons or some pasta, whole grain pasta, so to help people to have solutions when they had these baskets of local food delivered at their homes. So
Kilometro zero, we say in Italy, right?
Yes, the kilometro zero. So which was in the US, which was less, especially in Midwest, where the season usually does not allow a lot of products to grow beyond the May to September season. So this is what we did. We have some challenges too, because we are in the food business, and one of the key vehicles to make our consumers taste our products was to have some tasting sessions. Okay, tasting sessions which can happen either in the food shows, so the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago, which usually is in May, or Expo West in Anaheim, which is usually in early March. We don't have this vehicle anymore. The same in the grocery stores. Who today will stop at the end of the aisle of a pasta shelf and tries a spoon of pesto or a spoon of tomato sauce? Nobody. Which means that here as well we will need to adjust our marketing tools to be able to bring this tasting opportunity outside of these locations where you had lots of people all together, and where this crowded environment will be socially unacceptable, at least for the weeks or months to come. So marketing had to evolve as well, and will continue.
Very much. I must say, I was during the lockdown. I was in lockdown in Italy this time, and I wasn't in Chicago, and I saw all the advertisements and how much they changed from one week to the other. I was very impressed. I mean, everybody changed from the insurance company to, and also Barilla did a beautiful campaign in Italy about the values, as you said, not Federer, but it was more about that hard time that we are facing and the emotional support, and going back to those values that will then bring us back to live our beautiful country in this case, and values. No, it was very interesting to see that the change of advertisement. I studied advertisement, so for me I was very much interested in that subject, but I will keep going with I would like to talk to you more about this, but maybe we'll do that on another time. So let's keep going with our questions, because we don't have that much time. So we have how will this pandemic impact your strategies at Barilla? Have you redefined your strategic priorities?
We are in it, and there are several scenarios because we foresee three phases when we look forward now. There is the phase where we live now, which is the recovery. Okay, so we exit the crisis. We try to resume the business, to reopen here and there, but we know that this is not what the future will be about. Okay, we are in this kind of transition mode. We don't know exactly what's going to stick and what's going to leave. There will be a second phase, which will be equally uncertain. If there is a wave 2, if there is no wave 2, if with the elections here in the US at the end of the year and many elections next year in Europe. So I think that we will be in a kind of no man's land, probably for the next, I don't know, 6 to 18 months, okay, where things will not be back to this new normal that everybody is talking about. The new normal, if there is a new normal, will come after, okay, when we will have to, the economic crisis, the political uncertainties here and there will be behind us. And this is where probably we will see some big trends consolidated and solidified. So that's why in the meantime, what we are doing first is to invest a lot of money in consumer understanding, consumer research, okay, which is extremely important, because what we see is that the segmentation of consumers will be even more complex and sophisticated than it was before the crisis. People will have very different needs depending on how they went through the crisis, from a health point of view, from a financial point of view. So it's going to be extremely important to understand what the consumer you really target as your core consumers, they want from you, they expect from you. Okay, this is the first time. The second thing where we start opening some projects. There will be, unfortunately, a massive poverty. The financial pressure on millions of Americans will be very high, and will force most of us to make some choices. Okay, and so that's why when we talk about brands, we need to redefine the value you want to offer to these consumers. And there you can have two different things which go in two different directions. So we work on smaller packs, because some people living alone or just a couple without kids, they don't want, and they told this loud and clear to us, they don't want to open a pound of pasta and leave the box half full or half empty, etc. So and as these people, they will cook more and more at home. They want some solutions, which are, they open the box, they put the box in the boiling water, and they get rid of the box. Okay, and by the way, if the box is $1 or less because it's smaller than the usual 1 pound or for 500 grams in Italy that we sell, it's better. On the other side of the spectrum, we probably need also bigger packs and better price per pound, better price per kilo, especially for families which will be under severe financial constraints. So we work a lot on it. There was a trend which was coming big before the crisis, which accelerated during the crisis, and this one will stay, which is the plant-based proteins. Less and less people, for financial reasons, for philosophical reasons, for ethical reasons, they want to stay away from meat or fish consumption more and more, and so they are looking for sources of proteins which are plant-based. Okay, just before the crisis, we had launched a pasta which is not made of semolina, but which is made of chickpea flour or red lentil flour. This pasta is doing very well, It's naturally gluten-free because there is no semolina in this pasta. But the main reason why consumers buy it is because it has a high content of protein, okay, without having eggs, without having meat or fish or whatever. So this trend will be will go up because I think, and we start seeing it, Americans finally made a link between what they eat and their health.
Oh.
Okay, which was not so far, which was not. Yes, and so the data now show it. Okay, unfortunately, the communities which have been the most impacted by COVID were the ones which were more fragile. Okay, and they were fragile because their diet was usually not the one that the Mediterranean diet would recommend. Okay, another area where we go even faster. I know that there are many Italians in the attendees, so they will tell that I'm a criminal. But some years ago, we did launch a pasta.
You have it there.
A pasta. I'm sorry for my Italian friends; they will not like it. Which is a pasta.
Oh, the ready pasta.
Which is pre-cooked, pre-salted, which is in a pouch that
comes out perfectly al dente. Correct.
Yeah, and so that you put in the microwave, and in 60 seconds it's done. This product is on fire. Why? Because again, some people, they need a quick meal at home because they are between two Zoom or Skype meetings, and they don't want to take a pan and the water and wait 10 minutes and cook the pasta and clean up the mess and all of that. So we need to come with solutions which are healthy and affordable solutions. Okay, so
do you have that version with chickpeas as well?
No. This one is a plain pasta. And then if you want to put some tomato sauce on it, some Parmigiano Reggiano, you can do whatever you want on it. Again, it's the base that you use to express your inner creativity. Yeah. And last but not least, we will continue to invest a lot in technology.
Okay. Aspect I wanted to ask about.
Absolutely, technology is super important. Because as we saw, a huge part of our consumers, they buy online now. And so category management and shopper marketing online doesn't have the same rules than category management and shopper marketing in store. And so that's why we invest a lot already in advanced analytics and content creation to be able to continue to be relevant in an environment which will be physical as well as virtual. It's omni-channel category management strategy.
So you're going to invest more on that in the near future.
Yes, dottoressa.
Bene. Allora, the last two questions. One is beyond Barilla. Do you see more tailwinds or more headwinds for the food made in Italy for the years to come?
So I think, and this is not because I just want to be optimistic and positive, but I think that there are much more tailwinds. So I think that the made in Italy, especially on food, has a bright future in the US for I would say four reasons. The first one, the made in Italy, when it comes to food, continues to enjoy a very high reputation of quality and safety. And that's something that we monitored on our social and digital, especially when the outbreak started in the US. We didn't have any single question on the product safety of our products. While, and you probably saw most of the Chinese restaurants or Chinese food, we saw a lot of debates online and in the newspapers it's safe to eat Chinese or Vietnamese, and I don't pretend that Chinese food was not safe. Okay, I just pretend that Italian food has never been challenged in terms of safety, which is extremely important because again, in this turmoil, people, they look for safety, care, well-being. Okay. The second reason why Italian food has a lot of strength, and it's probably a postcard, but anytime you talk about Italian food, American people have in mind family and friends sharing some pasta meal or some antipasti, and these are usually associated to joy and pleasure. Okay, so which is extremely important. The third reason why Italian food is strong in the current context, it's simple and easy to cook. Okay, it's not a cuisine which is a little bit complex and sophisticated, and you don't know exactly what's in it because it's a lot of sauce and etc. as other cuisines could be. Okay, Italian food is extremely transparent, and in this world, transparency, know what you have in the plate, and who is behind this food is very important. Yeah. And the last one, that's a food which is connected to nature. When you see the basic ingredients of Italian cuisine, which are made of grains or tomatoes or olives, this is a food which is connected with our planet, with our environment. And so if Italian companies are strong in their message of the food which is good for you, is also good for the planet, in a moment where consumers will, especially here in North America, will become increasingly sensitive to arguments linked to environment, planet care, corporate social responsibility, social justice, without mentioning the events of the past weeks. I think Italy has a role to play in this debate. Absolutely.
Yeah, very interesting. So the last question, so you lived and worked in Italy, and now you live and work in the US. What would be your best tips for Italian food companies to be successful in the US now and in the future?
Yeah, no, we lived in Italy together with my wife and our two kids. It was 4 years between 2000 and the end of 2003. Our daughter was born in Italy, so she's French, but she's Roman forever, as she was born in Roma. I would probably give two pieces of advice, which are, by the way, more cultural than technical. Because again, I think that Italy has many positive things to bring to the American table. So I would not reinvent the products. The products are there. The first one is get close to your consumer. Okay, because I did work in Italy. I still work with Italy because our headquarters is based in Parma in Emilia-Romagna. But the tendency when we lived in Italy for a long time is that we see the world through the lenses of Italy. Okay, and I will tell you two stories, by the way, which will illustrate the point even more. One story, I remember I was in a food show and there was an Italian producer of olive oil who was explaining to 50 or 100 Americans who were listening to him the difference between the DOP, DOCG, etc. He has lost the room in less than 1 minute. Okay, because it doesn't mean anything. For an American, you can explain that it's DOP, DOCG, etc. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, what would have meant something to them is to explain why this oil was better than other oils and how they could sell it to their consumers, because it was about some food service operators. I will take another example, and I think that I have a box. bronze dye. Okay, you have two ways of making pasta. If I make it super simple, either you use some. Either I will show you after. Either you use some dyes of made of Teflon, okay, which gives a pasta which is extremely straight and etc. Or you use dyes which are made of bronze, okay, which makes a pasta which is rougher. And so for years, we, Barilla, we were failing in communicating this superiority of the bronze dye pasta, etc. And the American, who cares about the pasta made in a bronze dye or in a, which is more a debate, I would say, for foodies, okay, living in the northeast of the country. And so a couple of years ago, so we relaunched this line of product, which is called Collezione. And I don't know if you see it on the pack, we continue to claim the bronze dye, but the consumer benefit is what unlocked the potential of this pasta, which is that the sauce holds better on a bronze dye pasta than a pasta which has been made in a.
Did you write that on the package?
Yeah, we write it on the pack, okay? And we wrote on the pack perfectly holds the sauce, okay? Which is the consumer benefit. So what I meant by these two examples, don't look at the world through Italian glasses. Look at the world through the American consumer that you want to serve, okay? And try to find in your mix, in your proposal, in your innovation, the reason to believe that this product will finally bring a point of difference versus another. That's the point one. The second one, which is also probably cultural, and I'm Latin as well, huh? So I'm French, and so we are cousins. Italians and French share many cultural traits together. Yeah. Trust your local team. Trust your local team. So that would be my second tip. It's good that you have a nice mix of Italian and international people in your operations in the US, but when they tell you something, trust them. They know the market much better than you can.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes we think that we have to listen to our local people, exactly. And we have to adapt the made in Italy product and production locally. So for sure, interaction and listening and being a president like you are, open-minded president, and having a diverse group of people probably was also a key for your success in your role. Okay, so I would like to thank you so very much, Jean-Pierre Comte, for sharing all those experiences with us. And I would like also to thank Domenico, that is here with us. Mauriello, thank you very much. And thank you, Unioncamere, as well, for your partnership on this project. Let's keep staying together and to support the Italian companies in this difficult year. So I really appreciate everyone who collaborated on this. Also Spindox, our IT company. Thank you, Leonardo, for your support as well. Thank you to my team, Greta, Matteo, our executive director, Fulvio Calcinardi. Thank you to our president, Mauro Galli, and everyone who was on this panel today and who listened to us and dedicated this hour with us. So I would love to also invite you to go to our website, the Chamber's website. If you have any questions, please email us, info@iacc-chicago.com. Everything is written on the website. I hope
Silvia, there are plenty of questions in the chat area.
Right, so right, exactly. Before we close, we have to open the chat. Q&As, here it is. Thank you, Dr. Mauriello. I was rushing for.
I saw a very good question on innovation, Silvia.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking if we stopped innovation, which is obviously a very important. Yes, we stopped innovation in 2020 because again in the context we live in now, to the point that I was making before. Consumers, shoppers, they are not in the mood, in the mindset today to spend time in the store and browse the aisle and make sure that they will catch the latest products, etc. They are not there, which doesn't mean that we will stop innovation forever, because again, we will need to come with other solutions to cope with these emerging needs that we'll have here and there. But we paused in 2020, and we will be back with very strong innovations in 2021, or we will also relaunch products that we had launched in 2019, at the end of 2019. And I take one of them, by the way, which is it does not exist in Italy. We launched it for the time being only in the US.
Vero Gusto.
Which is a brand that we call Vero Gusto by Barilla, which is, by the way, made in Parma, Italy, in our plant of Rubiano, which is an extremely premium and simple line of products with ingredients made in Italy. And we didn't have the opportunity to communicate a lot on it because the outbreak hit us when we were about launching the marketing plan. But we will communicate a lot in 2021 on this kind of product, which again is a safe, authentic Italian product.
Great. We can wait to hear all about those.
We will be back. We will be back on innovation, definitely.
2021, we will do a follow-up webinar where we'll talk about what did Barilla do to innovate the company in the past year. Great. Other questions here we have. Can you also read it, Jean-Pierre? And
I see. Yes, I see a question, and yes, we communicated about it. On the plastic window that we have on the pack. Okay, if I take the same pack of Collezione that I shared before, as you can see, we have a plastic window, and this is the same everywhere in the world. So we have a plastic window for two reasons. The first one is that our consumer tells us, especially in markets where people they don't know exactly what orecchiette or casarecce are about. Even if you have a nice, I would say, a drawing of, they don't know how big it could be, what's the exact shape of it, and so that's why we left the window. The second reason why we leave the window is that pasta is a beautiful product, and so we don't need to hide it. While some other packaged foods companies hide the product because it's not exactly the most appetizing when you see it on shelf. We don't need to do it. So that's why we always made the decision to leave the window between. We are doing a test in the UK where we remove the window, and so the box will be completely carton. So there will not be anymore this plastic window that we have. Which will make the pack obviously 100% recyclable. Okay, that's a test that we start now. So you will hear and read a lot of buzz about it, and so where the window was before, we explain that we do it for the environment. Okay, we would love to move there because it would be, by the way, for us also less expensive to remove this plastic window, which costs much more in terms of a manufacturing process. And so we will learn from the UK example, and fortunately, the English consumer will tell us that they are okay not to see the pasta which is in the box, and at this point of time we can roll out everywhere in the world. But we are not there yet.
Right. I see a lot of other questions here.
Yes.
Do you, Jean-Pierre, foresee a greater demand in the American market for Italian products, giving the increased trends for cooking? Yeah.
Cooking, yes, for sure. We have it because, again, Italian and French, they are eating probably, I don't know, 80% or 70% of their meals, they were eating them at home. Americans, by default, all the meals of all the lunches of working days, they don't eat at home. And then very often during the weekend or even the evening, they also go to the restaurants. Okay, so that's why, even if, and I see some restaurants reopening now, and people, they get there, so it's a little bit confusing because you have the mask, the menu, you cannot touch it. It's a lot of complexity. But hopefully, our partners in the restaurant industry will be back sooner rather than later. But before getting back to where we were in the past, people will continue to eat much more at home now in 2020 than they were in 2019. So
even I remember, sorry, I'm jumping in quickly. I remember that advertisement. I think it's an old advertisement from 10 years ago or something, where there were two people in two different parts of the world with their computer in front, and they were eating the pasta in front of them. And then there was, where there is Barilla, there is home. But this was, nobody would have ever thought that at a certain point we would be really like embracing that computer that much. And
there are a couple of questions which are also very good questions related to local versus global. Okay, so you are a global company. The global headquarters is in Parma. Almost half of the business of Barilla in the world is in Italy. So Italy is still for the key market. The second market we have in the world is in the US. As you mentioned earlier, Silvia, we came in the US in 1996, and so it has been a fun ride, because we have now about 1/3 of the market in market share. And so this has been a very successful story. And I think that the ability of Barilla to build this success story in the US has been made indeed one of the key components on top, obviously, of the product, which is built on this always al dente #1 in Italy, which is what we leverage since the beginning, is the ability of this company to mix the beauty of our Italian expertise with the consumer, customer, and market knowledge of the local teams. And being able to find the fine balance between remaining authentically Italian, because we are Italian, the culture of the company is Italian, our values are coming from this Italianity, but at the same time understanding what the American consumer we serve needs. And so this is a little bit what I sent at the end. I think that opening up our minds, and even if sometimes I had tough discussions also with Guido, Luca, or Paolo Barilla, especially when launching this kind of products. I can tell you that it took a little bit of time and pedagogy from my side to get there. But as long as what's in the pack is aligned with our nutritional guidelines, which are extremely strict, so no GMO, no preservatives, no colorants, etc., etc. So in this pack, you just have 3 ingredients, which is semolina, extra virgin olive oil, and sea salt. Okay, that's it. We need to adapt ourselves. So you can continue to win in the American market while staying true to your value and to your heritage.
Okay, I think it's 5:20.
Yes, it's 5 and. And so yes, the big difference is that we have some global campaigns. We don't use that exactly the same way, but yes, we have a nice mix between 50% global and 50% developed locally.
Have you ever thought about a frozen pasta line?
That's so this one is yes, we have a small frozen pasta business in Italy. That we have for the food service channels. Okay, in a food service world where costs will be more than ever scrutinized, because the months and years to come for the restaurant industry will be challenging. Point two, in a restaurant world where you don't see putting 5 or 6 people together in the same kitchen, working, I would say, elbow to elbow, I'm not sure that the American restaurants will continue to pre-cook the pasta in the morning and then store it in the fridge and then cook it at lunchtime or dinner time. So we start having some questions on solutions of pre-cooked, pre-salted, and pre-portioned pasta, which could be either frozen or chilled, that they can cook in a minute. Okay, so this is something that we also explore.
Okay, I think we unfortunately, I mean, we could keep going, and it's been great to have those conversations with you, but I think we have to slowly close our webinar. I hope you had everybody had an interesting time. Thank you again for Jean-Pierre and Domenico for being part of that. And
thank you very much, Silvia. Thank you, Domenico.
Thank you, Silvia.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
And follow the chamber.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye-bye.